So just really quickly, the numbers are pretty staggering. I mean, it looks like online advertising is just growing by leaps and bounds every year, and it's trying to be very, very strong. In 2013, we've already seen a 21% increase from 2011 to 2012. And what we've seen is actually not only is ad spend increasing, but sales are increasing as well. So people are going out and buying cars, so we're recovering from the recession, and the online ad dollars should follow that demand. And of course, here we're seeing that there's still an increase in interest to buy a car, so people are out there shopping, researching. And we can't actually ever show you the total amount of queries. The query is just when somebody searches something on google.com, but we can show you an index of just how much those queries are increasing year over year. So really quickly, going over the key findings, some of this does lead into workshop 2 and 3, but these are kind of the main things that we found about today's auto shopper. And again, this is an amalgam of research from ZMOT, from third-party sources, and what Google has found from supporting dealers and supporting OEMs through their advertising efforts. So the first and most important point is that everyone is going online. 90% of car shoppers use the internet. So if you're not online, you're missing out on 90% of car shoppers. Not only do they rely on organic search, but they also rely on paid search. And I'll show you some statistics on how paid search is important and how it's important for converters. We've also seen definitely an increase in how much people are relying on dealer sites. So, before the OEM sites used to dominate the market, and everyone kind of knew that, but now dealer sites are becoming more and more and more important to the auto shoppers, especially as they're getting lower down in the funnel, and they're starting to think about, okay, where actually can I go and test drive a car? Mobile, that's something we'll talk about in workshop 2, but mobile has just exploded. 20%, and this is growing very, very, very quickly, 20% of queries are actually done on a mobile device. So if you don't have a mobile strategy, if you don't have a mobile in a campaign, you're missing out on a lot of very qualified leads. And we, again, just expect that number to just increase year over year. Content, again, something that we'll go into workshop 2 or 3. So just really quickly, let me explain what search versus content is. Basically, search is just that Google search engine results page where you type in a keyword and you see organic listing versus search ads. But when I say content, I mean the millions of sites that are part of the Google display network, or it used to be called the content network. So those can be, your email. If you're looking at NewYorkTimes.com, it can be a travel site, an auto review site. So all of those sites, there's millions of them that make the Google display network. And actually, 95% of the time that is spent online is spent on the content network. Only 5% of the time is spent on search. So if you only have a search strategy, you're missing out 95% of the time that people are actually browsing content and searching the internet. Then, of course, video is really important, something Brian started to mention. Video is actually the most engaging ad format for automotive. And it's a little bit harder, when you're not an OEM, to have these really flashy assets, but we've definitely seen that. We've seen dealers with their own promoting videos, comparing cars, a Lexus versus a BMW, and we've definitely seen some really effective video advertising that dealers can do. And just think about it, if you have a TV spot, that can be pretty expensive during prime time. So YouTube is a much cheaper, more engaging way of engaging that audience and having sight, sound, motion, and having all these senses targeted. Okay, so those are kind of just key findings that will guide today's presentation, and all of these are really important in building your online marketing strategy. So really quickly, I'm going to talk about organic search. Just to preface here, Google, we're not trained in SEO, obviously, we're not experts in SEO, so really I'll let the data speak for itself here. And then to kind of get this data, I decided to look at just parts and service as an example. There's so much data, it was hard to kind of put everything together, but I figured this is a really good example for dealers. So search is just a very critical online source. I mean, it sounds like you guys all have organic search strategy, but again, this data just looks at how important search is for example, parts and service shoppers. Also, search happens often, so those who actually convert are searching often on their computers. So it's not something they just return to once. They do one search, okay, I'm done. They do multiple searches, then they go and browse sites on the display network, the content network is what it used to be called. They watch videos, they go back to searching, so it's not just a very easy linear process. That's kind of what makes it more difficult for you guys. You have to target the auto shopper wherever they are on the web, and they do a lot of different things on the web, and they jump around, and it's a very kind of confusing process, but at least the starting block would be to have an organic search strategy. Then of course, again, search is central for converters. So now I'll go into the role of paid search, because it sounds like a few of you don't have an AdWords strategy. So, it is important to know that there's traffic going to your website, but another way to influence that traffic, to get more traffic to go to your website that's actually highly qualified and not just somebody accidentally clicking on something, is through online ads, is through having a paid search strategy. And actually almost 40% of online ads influence those very critical site visits. And you may be the only dealership in that state that sells that kind of car, but once once other dealerships in the state start selling your car, it's not enough to just have an organic search strategy. You need to have a paid search strategy because all of a sudden the competition is elevated. For you guys that are advertising in very saturated markets, for example, LA, incredibly saturated market, there's tons of dealers competing for ad space. What are you going to do to differentiate yourself? Having an organic search strategy is not enough. You need to have a paid search strategy as well. Chicago, again, very saturated market. Something that came up earlier is, well, it seems to me that organic search converts better than paid search. What we've actually found is that they convert at least just as well. So 1 out of 3 organic and 1 out of 3 paid search clicks results in a conversion. And then just kind of wrapping up this piece on how critical, yes, go ahead.
How are you defining conversion?
So in this one, we have 3 different conversion sources listed on the bottom, and that's scheduling an appointment, locating a dealer, or adding something to your shopping cart.
Would you say that organic search doesn't convert the way that it used to because of the reformatting of the search result page?
So unfortunately, I don't have any insight into how well organic search converts. I just kind of have the data that I've seen. So far, the data has shown that it does still convert just as well as paid search. In some instances, it's possible that paid search may convert a lot better. In some instances, it's possible that it may convert not as well. So it just kind of depends on where you are, how saturated the market is, and what kind of strategy you have.
What is branded or not branded? What are you referring to that?
Oh, sure. So that would be, I think in this case, it's more your dealership name is considered a branded term. Obviously, you're going to convert really well if somebody searches for your dealership name. And then non-branded is just, more general terms like auto dealer, things like that, used car, used Honda, etc. Any other questions? And so another thing that I know you guys think about, and it's come up a lot, is the purchase funnel. So we know that auto shoppers take anywhere from 3 to 12 months to make a decision and to do their research on what kind of car they want to purchase. Search is actually critical at every stage during that funnel. Sometimes it may be more critical towards the end when they actually know what they're looking for, and it's easy for them to search, used Honda, record in Detroit. Or maybe LA, maybe not Detroit. But beyond that, search is still critical when you're just kind of figuring out what kind of car you want, figuring out what brand is important to you. And like I mentioned earlier, shoppers don't have one linear path when they're researching. They hop around from search, they look at video, they browse an auto review site, they browse different types of content, maybe then they go back to search. So as they're moving through the funnel, it's important to have a paid search strategy at every single stage, and they'll be effective at every single stage. Does that make sense? So we've talked about how search is effective, there's data to back that up, but why exactly is search so effective? So I think that the benefit of AdWords, and there's three kind of main benefits. You're reaching a wide audience. The advertising efforts are you're being held accountable for these advertising efforts because you're able to see what keyword resulted in what click, which resulted in what conversion. So you're really able to see how your campaign is working and what the success of your campaign has been. And because of that, it's very ROI effective. And you can make changes to your campaign when it's not working so well, and you can add budget when your campaign is just blowing it out of the water. You're getting clicks, you're getting calls, you're getting conversions, and you see that if you just allocate more funds towards this paid search strategy, you can get even more leads, even more traffic, even more calls, and ultimately more people coming in your dealership to buy a car. Because at the end of the day, that's what you guys want to do, right? You want to sell more cars. And I think to do that, you just have to have a very unified, very integrated marketing strategy where you're addressing mobile, you're addressing search, and you're addressing display, video, etc. So with Google's very sophisticated geographic targeting technology, relevant keywords to help you capture that user's search intent when they're typing something into Google, with very powerful and attractive ad messaging, with call to action like visit us now, call now for a test drive. You are able to get very qualified leads because you know that people are looking for you. You know that people are looking to buy a car because they're clicking on your keyword, they're typing in your brand name, your user, your dealership name, and they're going to your page and then they're calling you. So with Google, you're able to actually measure all of these results. And because of that, you can see the ROI of your marketing efforts. So I think earlier, someone in the room was saying that they had heard their friend was doing AdWords and they were selling cars in Russia, or there were a lot of leads coming in from Russia. So rest assured that won't actually happen because we have very sophisticated geographic targeting. So without going into too much of the nitty-gritty detail, basically you can decide what city, what state, what country to target. So if I'm selling cars in Texas and I'm in the Dallas area, I can just target Dallas-Fort Worth, maybe go up to Denton. I can figure out what geography I want to target. So I'm not getting leads from, New York or Russia or any other place. So that's very sophisticated. And now we just made it even more sophisticated, and you can target a zip code. So I know that dealers have been asking for that for quite a while. There's sometimes a lot of competition. Sometimes you've got OEM regulations. If maybe you're Chrysler and you're using their program where you can't target certain geographies, we're just making it more and more granular so that you can target as specifically as you want. I don't recommend targeting a very small radius because then you're not going to get a lot of traffic. You're not going to get a lot of qualified leads. It's easier when you can target a whole state. But there's definitely a lot of different options available for you, so you're getting the leads from where you actually want to get the leads. So something we started talking about, paid search is cost effective. You're only paying when somebody actually clicks on your ad. And Google's got a great filtering technology so that if it is an invalid click, or it might be spam or something, we're able to filter out that click and not actually charge you. So I know that was a concern at one point in time. But basically, it's very cost effective because you're only paying when somebody's actually interested in learning more about you, your dealership, visiting your site. And again, something that we talked about earlier in the presentation, the combination of organic and search really provides an increase in your brand uplift. So it just makes you more memorable. It makes you maybe more favorable to the public who's searching for you. And now we've actually even started to make search a little bit more social. So I know that's not in this piece of the presentation, but we've been able to add little +1 annotations to the search ad to the dealer listing. Has anybody seen those yet? Yeah. So basically, if I'm logged into my Google account, which at this point I'm pretty much automatically am when I log into my Chrome browser, I search for a used Toyota Camry, and I see the search engine results. I see that paid search organic results, and I see that, hey, Brian +1 this dealership. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna look at that dealership because Brian obviously trusted enough, and I trust Brian. He's in my group of friends. He's in my circle, so I'm gonna go to that dealership. So just trying to bring the power of word of mouth that is still actually the most powerful thing for us to make a decision to the online world and to your ad. And you can definitely very easily add those +1 annotations on your ad or the organic search. So again, something to help with the brand favorability. And in aggregate, 44% paid search results generated a 44% lift in likelihood to purchase. So having that combined strategy will drive more traffic and will help you make more sales. Okay.
So I want to make 2 comments because one of the things you have to ask yourself, okay, Brian, if I put these ads out, where am I going to take them? Anybody thinking about that? If I'm paying for this click, and Anita said, well, look, you only pay when you click. Are you taking them to a page that converts? Well, 2 things I want you to make a note of with your paid search providers. Are they providing a replaceable phone number during the session visit? Meaning when they click on the ad, is the phone number on your website changing? Because phone call leads from paid search easily are 2, or sometimes in service could be a 4 to 5 to 1. So if you're running paid search for your fixed ops department, you're going to get a lot more calls than you are leads. And that is a result basically because so many dealership websites have really crappy service scheduling tools. They're boring. It's like, hey, you drop them on a form, there's no video, there's no compelling reason why they should service, and they're like, I'm not filling out this form. Didn't answer any of my questions, so what do? They pick up the phone and call the service advisor. So number 1, is your search provider leveraging phone conversion? Okay, very simple. Believe it or not, over half the providers today are not. They're just driving traffic. And then obviously lead conversion. Do you have tracking codes so if they do fill out a special finance form, if they do a service, and believe it or not, over half the website platforms that dealers are using today are not properly set up for conversion. Now, of course, some of the bigger websites like Cobalt or Dealer.com, or Van, have conversion tracking. But there are a lot of dealers who are dealing with small rookie players. They say they can do AdWords, and they're really not giving them the true conversion. So I want to challenge you. If the statistics show that organic search alone is not sufficient, wait till you get to mobile. You'll see why organic SEO for mobile devices is almost like non-existent in my brain. And I'm an SEO advocate, believe me. But here's the thing. Really ask yourself, if you're going to be able to connect with an in-market, low-funnel consumer, are you making that click page compelling? And this is where video comes in. Imagine the difference of a first impression that would make on a consumer, especially if you were anybody doing buy here, pay here work, right? A few of you, right? So you decide to buy the term buy here, pay here. It's not a cheap term, by the way. Or cheap cars, or low credit, or bad credit cars, right? You know those keywords are very competitive. And you throw them to a page which has a crappy 6-question form. Well, wouldn't it be so much better if on that page you invested in a small video camera and you said, hi, I'm Brian Pasch from ABC, Easy Credit, and we understand that good people have been impacted by the economy. The economy has taken people with good credit to really some difficult situations, and we're here to help. Below is this form. which will allow our team to get you into an affordable car at the payment you can afford within, 24 hours, 48 hours. So just take a minute and fill out the form. And while you're here, you'll be glad to know that we're the highest rated buy here, pay here dealer in Cincinnati. And here are some customer reviews at the bottom of the page. We look forward to hearing from you. And if you'd rather just pick up the phone, call. That's a 30-second video. If you're going to spend $2 or $3 a click, you want to send them to a page with a form? Or would you rather send them to a page with a video and a call to action? This is my favorite part of the day. It's the napkin man. Now, this is for people who have said, Brian, paid search is expensive. Anybody honestly say, that Google man, that paid search is expensive. Anybody want to admit to that one? You have one, right? Just two, couple closet. It's all right. It won't be offended. Brian, you mean you gotta pay every time someone clicks? Man, I'm just gonna get my SEO guy, and it's free. Well, of course, not free. You gotta pay the SEO guy. You have to hire content writers, and of course, Google has been really changing the rules, really to reward quality content, unique content, and engagement. So you just can't throw up anything like back in the day. So I go into dealerships, and part of our consulting practice is to look at the dealership's budget, meet with the executive team. There's normally some people on the team who are very digitally engaged, and we have some old timers who really wish the internet wasn't even there, and they say, man, I want to go back to radio, TV, newspaper. And honestly, it still happens today that I'm in this political, and I have to bring these two parties together. Recently, I was visiting a dealership group that was spending $2.5 million on newspaper in their local market. And no one on the team, family members, CFO, don't talk to the dealer principal about that newspaper. Don't. Why? Well, he's friends with the owner newspaper, and they play golf. And but like $2.5 million, and they were throwing I'll give $3,000 to each store for paid search. I'm like, oh, so just threw them a bone. It's like the fixed ops department, right? How many work in dealership? Just give the fixed ops director $5,000 a month. He'll figure out what to do with it, as if that was some magic ceiling. So of course, when everyone told me, the family members, the CFO, the COO said, do not talk about the newspaper, you know what I had to do? I had to talk about the newspaper. And it was the weirdest thing. I very rarely get shocked. But I didn't talk about newspaper, going to the airport, and the dealer principal says, I'll drive over to the airport with you. One of his people were driving. I'm like, that's a good sign, right? When the dealer principal wants to go to the airport, which is a shitty ride, right? Just to ask him some questions. So he's sitting in the back, I'm kind of turning, and I say to him, what do you think? He says, great. So one of the main things I got is that we really need to maximize our digital strategy first, and then worry about traditional. And I said, that sounds fantastic. I'm glad you're paying attention, but there's a problem with it. I said, you're spending a ton of money on newspaper, and you've really choked the digital budget, and everyone's afraid to bring it up. I said, everyone. He said, no one's ever come to me and told me that they want to cut the newspaper budget. I just tell them tell me what to spend. I grab them off the stores, and I go negotiate. And I said, yeah, but people think that you're open to it. He said, no, I'm absolutely open to that. I said, would you do me a favor? When you get back to the office, would you send an email out to all the general managers that we can shift some money from newspapers? He said, sure. Yeah, I was acting like this was no big thing. I said, I think they're all going to have a heart attack. And he did. And it was a breakthrough moment because of some of these bridge concepts that I have. And so I want to talk to you about napkin math from a real store